a very, very clear design development from all the way from beginning of concept all the way through scheme design, detail design, and then maybe even if it's constructed, that's even better. I think that really you can prove that the building was able to be built. So all those factors together, I think that makes what if a submission is a good submission. I think it's vitally important. I think it's probably one of the more important things when you're doing a business, to get a good reputation in the marketplace, to constantly be very, very much out there with your peer group and making sure that you remain on top of your game. I think that's vitally important, and that's what we always within WSP strive to actually do. So constantly innovative, constantly being there, helping with the submissions, doing the submissions, making good submissions, and even throughout the design process, think about how you're going to present it later on as well, how you're going to use it to your advantage, to climb up with your reputation in the marketplace. I think it is Dubai is a small community relatively. It's almost like a small town. Everybody knows each other, so everybody knows who the good architects are and who the good engineering companies are. So cutthroat, I would say maybe it is when it comes down to the fees that people submit when they're bidding for a project. But in the end of the day, we're all professionals. We all have worked with each other at some stage in the past. So after the project is won, people get on with our work, and if people have lost the project, then I'm sure they will price it more sharply next time, or even make a better technical submission. But in general, I think it is quite camaraderie, and I think it is everybody knows each other in this business. That's true.
I always first look for sustainability because that's my profession. I'm a sustainability consultant. But as soon as I do a kind of scan of the sustainability qualities, then I look for the overall emotional impact that the project has on me. I consider then the real estate fundamentals of the project. Does it make sense in the area where it's been developed or where it's been built? I try to see if it in some exceptional way has promoted innovative ideas, construction methods. Well, I'd like to see that there's something that really stands out in the project. And it doesn't mean that it has to be necessarily a very high budget project or iconic in the strict sense of the word, but I like to see, has someone done something a little differently that contributes new ideas to the overall profession of architecture and vision of what architects can do for built environment quality. And there's a lot of really exciting entries this year that do have many of these elements, so I enjoyed looking at them.
It's impressive. It's impressive. I think we had a lot more submissions, and there's a wider variety of submissions. Some people have gone all out and given us a very full presentation of everything they wanted for that scheme, but others have been more restricted or restrained with their submissions. But I think each year it's getting better and better. People are kind of seeing what their peers are doing and improving as a result of it. So, Young Architect of the Year, I think it's fantastic. There's a huge array of talent, and it's the longest shortlist. Without giving anything away, it's the longest shortlist.
Yeah.
And that's really positive. And the fact that these guys are taking it seriously as well, not just the work, but kind of wanted to be part of the process and publicise the work. So that's really exciting. Really exciting for the future. I think it's interesting that you've got different people doing different things. You've got the boutique firms who are kind of, shall we say, pushing the barriers a bit more, but even the commercial firms, the larger firms, are actually getting into kind of what's their USP, what's their USP? How do you, even as a big firm, win a job? Because if the smaller firm can beat you in design, it doesn't matter if they're small. So I think it's kind of raising the bar for everybody. Everyone's kind of becoming more aware of the fact that design is important, sustainability is important, BIM is now becoming important. So all these things are coming into the mix and helping us to improve our processes and our design. Yeah, I think as the market matures, as we get more familiar with these things and are scared of them, and as people like DM introduce them more into all projects rather than some, and even things like BIM can help us, I think, because that will make you think about the long term, that perhaps people don't do at the moment. How am I going to cut my building? How's it going to sustain itself? And what's it going to cost me? So I think that debate is always going on, and it's just making sure it's at the forefront of everybody's mind. So it shouldn't drive design, but it should be an integral part of design. And I think in the same way that you've got structures, you've got MEP, now everyone realizes invested arm sustainability, core part of the team, and rightly so.
We were all waiting for this moment to get together with other people around one table and discuss the outcome of a year of architectural practices around the region. And what is important when you sit around table and discuss things together face to face with other architects with the same level as you are and what you're doing, it's quite interesting and gives a further knowledge to your architectural practice in general, and perhaps can help the entire society of architects in Dubai and globally in UAE and in the region. So that's the most important aspect of today, being together and discussing.
Well, first of all, it was very exciting to be here and look at what's happening nowadays in the area, and I thought it was a great experience to see so many quality projects, and good one. I saw many good projects. I saw lots of research, and I think it's really interesting to see what's going to happen in the future of the architectural design solutions in the area.
It's a lot of very interesting things. I think there is still, of course, there is some fat that can be trimmed away, to put it that way. But I think it's getting more and more exciting in the UAE to watch what is going on in architecture. I think the place is maturing, the firms are maturing, and now we just have to sort of get real about the sustainability. As I mentioned before, I don't think Masdar is the most sustainable dwelling in the UAE. I think it's Bastakia. It still works. Go there and you experience it yourself. And I think we should look at things and develop in the future these things that we already know, and then use that as a stepping stone into the future. As the professor said, we can't do airport terminals like the Bastakia, and that's true. But maybe there are some things in the Bastakia that we can use in it. I think we're too quick to take away, the really hard work and interest. I feel there is still too much imagery. We talked in there about a firm. They haven't really produced buildings that are built, and maybe that's not good enough to be in a category of best boutique firm and so forth. And I think there is a lot of reason in that you have to have built things to prove that you actually are a good architect. Everybody, a graphic designer, can do a pretty image, but can they do a building that actually stands up, and a building that 5 years after is actually functioning well? What we do as architects, whatever pretty images we do, 3D renderings and so forth, has no value at all when the project is built. The true judges of a building are not us judges here, our other architects, is the end user. So it is beyond the mortar and brick. It's the soul we architects can bring into a project that can be translated to the end user and felt by the end user, or not felt. If they don't feel it, if it doesn't do anything for them, it failed, in my view. So it's a lot of things that go into the mix, and to make things exciting and to inspire each other, I think these awards are important. We have to take, and I take it very serious. I think whatever you say in the jury, it's very important, and we can learn from each other, and we have to be very honest.
Some really interesting entries. It's quite varied, actually. In some categories, the standards really from quite ordinary to really beautiful entries. The standard of presentation varies quite a lot, but it's really interesting seeing all the different categories and the level of effort as well people have put into making the submissions. There's some beautiful graphic presentations as well. And the content, some really interesting projects, which is quite encouraging in the region.